Well, in at least 12 cities across the country, protests are taking place, including here in Atlanta, over the election of Donald Trump. Thousands of people in New York, Portland, Chicago, L.A., and again here in Atlanta, saying that because Trump lost the popular vote, he is an illegitimate president. But reality check, we don't elect presidents by popular vote. We do it through the Electoral College. And that might actually be bad news for Donald Trump if the Electoral College chooses to block him from becoming the 45th president of the United States. Can they do it? Well, yes, and right now an effort is underway not to elect Trump. But to understand that, you have to understand how the Electoral College works. This is a reality check you won't see anywhere else. Well, last week's election left 120 million Americans feeling one way or the other, either delighted that Donald Trump won the election or furious and heartbroken. Now, part of the frustration is over the fact that Trump lost the popular vote. At last count, Hillary Clinton received at least 600,000 more votes than Trump, and that number could be much higher, as about 4 million votes in California are still being counted. But that doesn't matter, because Trump won the Electoral College by winning 290 electoral votes compared to Clinton's 228. In order to become president, you have to get 270 electoral votes, and Trump got them. Well, actually, he didn't get them yet. See, the Electoral College is more than just a map and numbers. When you go to vote for president, you think you're voting for a candidate, but you're not. You're actually voting for electors in every state, members of the Electoral College. Now, here's something you may not know. In 21 states in the country, including right here in Georgia, these electors are not required to vote for the candidate who won the popular vote in their state. It doesn't happen often. But on occasion, Electoral College members will cast a vote for someone other than the candidate who won the election in their state. These are called faithless electors. The most recent was in 2004, when a faithless elector defected, and instead of casting their vote for John Kerry, they instead cast their vote for his running mate, John Edwards. It was only symbolic, though, because George W. Bush had the votes needed to become president. And faithless electors have a constitutional right to vote however they choose. Under the Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, electors have a right to vote as he or she choose in the Electoral College. Now, I tell you all of that because right now there is an effort underway to convince the Electoral College to choose a different president than Donald Trump on the 19th of December. Last week, I was contacted by one of the electors from Colorado, Michael Baca. Michael explains that he and other electors are putting into action an effort to persuade Republican electors to defect from Donald Trump and to choose a compromise candidate. Because right now, Clinton has 268 electors and Trump has 290. Baca is hoping to convince at least 21 electors to vote for a compromise candidate, Ohio Governor John Kasich. Baca believes that Kasich, who's still a Republican, a conservative, and is largely seen as a reasonable man, would be someone that most Americans would support. Now, for this all to work, all of Clinton's electors would have to vote for Kasich, and 21 Republican electors would have to cross over. Furthermore, if Baca could convince all of 18 Ohio electors to support their own governor, then in fact he'd only need 3 other electors from around the country to switch their vote. All right, so what you need to know here is that number one, the likelihood of this happening is not great. It's never happened before. Number two, if it's going to happen, it could happen now, considering that nearly half of registered voters did not vote in this election. And number three, while many people would not like the outcome, it is actually a completely legal process in our American system. But why is that? Well, in the Federalist Papers, Alexander Hamilton actually explains why electors in the Electoral College have this power. He writes this, quote, "Talents for low intrigue and the little arts of popularity may alone suffice to elevate a man to the first honors in a single state. But it will require other talents and a different kind of merit to establish him in the esteem and the confidence of the whole Union." He goes on to say, "A small number of persons selected by their fellow citizens from the general mass will be the most likely to possess the information and the discernment requisite to such complicated investigations." In other words, in plain English, the point of the Electoral College is not to actually override the will of the popular vote. It's to protect against a candidate who manages to get enough votes to take office and yet would not be good for the nation. Hey, hold on. I didn't create the Electoral College. The founders did. The question for electors in 2016, who, by the way, are using the hashtag Hamilton electors, well, the question for them is, how will they use this power with which they have been legally and constitutionally vested? That's Reality Check. Let's talk about that on Twitter.